Razo, unleash the power. Unleash the power, Razo.
Over the summer, I went home to visit my parents. They live in California. As is often the case with these visits, eventually the topic of politics came up. And unfortunately, nowadays, that means the topic of a certain, you know who I mean. Normally, my father is very passionate about this topic of politics. He loves to have long discussions about it. But this time, he got fed up pretty quickly. And he just said, "Este guy is a complete pendejo." You see, my father is Mexican, but he's lived in America for more than 40 years. He no longer speaks Spanish or English. He speaks Spanglish. Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters, this is a real thing. I'm not making it up. Spanglish is a real language. And if you pay close attention, you will begin to appreciate just how powerful it is. Este guy is a complete pendejo. Every single word in that sentence is either the most efficient or the most impactful available. Instead of saying the word this, he used the Spanish word este, which can be stretched out like a musical note. Instead of saying hombre or cuate in Spanish, he said guy. Short, sweet, straight to the point. He could have said total or completo, but he said complete. And finally, and perhaps most important of all, pendejo. Now, in case you're not familiar, this is a very useful but rather impolite word in Mexican slang. In the interest of etiquette and good manners, I'll translate it to dumb jerk. But the correct translation is something that I'm not going to repeat here on this stage. Now, of course, he could have said this entirely in English. This guy is a total jerk. That would have been fine. But it wouldn't have had the same impact, would it? On the other hand, he could have said, este cuate es totalmente un pendejo. But that has too many syllables. Only using Spanglish can he fully and accurately convey exactly how he feels about President, you know who I mean. Now, this is by no means limited only to English or Spanish. Whether you realize it or not, this is a tool that's available to everybody in this room. Because many of us here are expats, internationals. At the very least, we speak more than one language. And even if you are someone who's only recently arrived in your host country, you surely have some level of familiarity with the local language. And when you combine this with English or your own native language, you will unleash the power of, let's call it Funglish. Now, I'll give you a personal example. I live in Holland. In Holland, they speak Dutch. The first time I ever visited the country, before I even left the airport, I'd already learned my first Dutch word. And that word was lekker. Now, this is a really nice word, but it's a little difficult to translate it correctly. But perhaps an example will help. Imagine for a minute, you are in Holland and you meet a local Dutch person. And this Dutch person invites you into their home to share a meal with their family. Yeah, I know, this is just hypothetical. Now, after this meal, of course, you want to compliment your hosts. And thankfully, every Dutch person speaks perfect English. But you can speak Funglish. So instead of simply saying to your hosts, thank you, that was a delicious meal, you can just lean back and say, that was lekker. Or you could take it up a notch and say that it was leckerissimo. If you keep working on this, you'll get good. And eventually, you won't even need to mix your language. Simply choosing a language in which to say a phrase or a few words can be impactful enough. For example, in the Dutch language, when a man wants to express his affection for his partner or his lover, he says, "Ik hou van je, schatje." Nobody wants to hear that. Not even Dutch people. Now, if he could switch to Italian, he could say something more like, "Mi amore, ti amo, con te mi sento 3 metri sopra il cielo." It sounds nice, doesn't it? Yeah. However, as nice as it sounds, Italian is not the right choice in every situation. Yesterday, when I came here from the airport, my taxi driver, he pulled right out into the Milan traffic, right in front of another car. And the other driver got so upset. He rolled down his window and he stuck his head out and he said, "Vai al diavolo, cretino." And when I heard that, it made me feel so hungry. I thought to myself, cretino alla diavola. With a glass or with a bottle of Chianti. That sounds lekker. So the point is this. Funglish is a gift. Each and every one of us should be making full use of it. Next time you hear someone on the street or in your place of work mixing languages, you shouldn't think of this as a mistake or a degradation, but as the superior and more elevated form of communication that it is. I promise you, if you give it a chance, Funglish will enrich in your life and it will make your vida completely leckerissimo. Thank you. Thank you.